So here we are, the final two levels of the game. Before we get there though, I'd like to show you all of the warps. Warps in video games are generally considered cheap because you're not beating the entire game. In the case of Battletoads though, I actually encourage it because you'll get to experience the later levels and it serves as good practice. Now there are 4 warps in total, but you can only access 3 at a time. You'll understand as I explain it more. The first warp occurs immediately when the game begins. You have to be very quick though, and this is how you get there. Double tap left to run and ram the first enemy, and then do the same thing to the right. Quickly jump up here and you'll be brought to the third level, the turbo tunnel. Remember, it's important that you start with the left enemy because you want to be heading in the direction of the warp as you kill the one to the right. This is a good warp to take if you're trying to make it through the game, but there are benefits in avoiding it. For example, in level 2, you can gather up a bunch of extra lives before you make it to the turbo tunnel, should you decide to play through. And like I've said, extra lives are very important in this game because it's a lengthy one. The warp in level 3 occurs at the very end, during the most notorious part of the game. For some, this is a blessing because taking this warp is the only hope in making it through here. It appears in front of the 10th slab. After avoiding number 9, you'll be moving down, and you just want to stay down as if to crash into the 10th one. There you have it. You'll be brought to level 5, Surf City. As many people know, this is a pretty difficult level, and if you have trouble getting through it, there's a way to skip this too. You'll have to beat level 3 as it is though, and advance to level 4, the Arctic Caverns. I actually don't mind level 4 at all because there's an enjoyable rhythm to it if you know what you're doing. If you hate this level, then the bad news is the warp comes near the end. There's a point where you're dodging snowballs as they break the wall to your right. After it breaks, you want to jump on the platform that takes you down. Go down a little bit and then start jumping up repeatedly until the platform brings you back up to where the warp appears. You'll find yourself in level 6, the Snake Pit. The warp shows up in the beginning of the second section, and so make it through the first section as you normally would. Thankfully, it's very easy. To get to the warp, climb the first snake, then jump around here. Stay right in between the spikes on the platform below. This one is huge because you'll skip past Volkmeyer's Inferno onto the elevator shaft, but from that point on, you're left to fend for yourself. No more warps. Level 11 is the Clinger Winger, and it's very simple in concept. In fact, I think it's one of the easiest levels in the entire game. Many disagree with me though, and for good reason. I'll tell you why. First, let me explain what this is all about. You get on your vehicle, and the point is to race away from the giant orb, or buzzball, before it catches up with you. You'll be going in different directions as the arrows will indicate, and what you have to do is hold down the directional button accordingly before changing directions. Simple, right? Yes and no. If you attempt to turn corners too soon or too late, a rash will momentarily slow down and the orb will gain distance on you, but it's very difficult to notice. That's how precise the controls are. It'll seem like you're doing everything correctly, which makes dying here even more agonizing. And here's where the problem lies. The NES console was released in 1985, and this game is from 1991, remember. The only televisions that were widely available to consumers during this gaming period were CRT TVs or tube TVs. Now, if you're attempting to play this game on an HD TV, even with an original NES console, and even on a game mode television setting, then you're going to pull the hair out of your head because there's a slight delay and it makes levels like this nearly impossible. I'm actually not familiar with emulators, but as far as HD TVs go, it's nearly impossible to complete this level. I've tried. The input lag is just far too great. Good luck playing Mike Tyson's Punch-Out with an HD TV, by the way. Regardless, this level plays out like an early version of Guitar Hero or Rock Band. Easier though, in my opinion. That's the best way to put it. You have to react to the directions, up, down, left, and right, as the turns appear quickly on screen. Now imagine playing Rock Band while the calibration is off. That's what I'm talking about. It's one of the few benefits of owning a CRT television these days, I guess. There aren't any checkpoints here. If you die, you have to start the race from the beginning. When you get to the end, you actually have to fight the giant orb. In that case, why were you running away from it to begin with? Just begin the level with a bare-knuckle brawl, right? Anyway, it'll start with a pattern where you should be able to ram it twice. Once to the left, then jump over and ram it to the right. You need to be quick to get to the right though. As you'll see, it's a little tough to get over there, but I found that this is the most effective method. Continue to do this until the pattern of the orb changes. At some point, the orb will start bouncing up high in an attempt to squash you. When it goes off the screen, you want to get out of the way, so jump, but not immediately. Wait a half second to jump up and over. It's all about the timing here. Also, the orb will usually do a short bounce after coming back into the screen, and that's a good place to ram it, just as long as it doesn't bounce hard and fly out of the screen again. Given how late in the game it is, I think it's a very easy enemy. It doesn't shoot any projectiles, and the pattern is very easy to counter against. Getting to this point with a lag in your television is obviously the hardest challenge. So this is it. The Revolution. The final level. Unfortunately, it's not that easy. You can totally make it through though, and I'll try my very best to help you. Immediately, you're attacked by an enemy. Ram him 3 times and then grab this pole to use as a weapon. Hop on the small individual platforms to make your way up. Since your perspective is constant, the background will move in accordance to your movement, you know what I mean? Jump up and to the right, and the platform will seem like it's coming towards you even though you're jumping towards the platform. You might need to play it to understand. Just try to follow along in the meantime. Avoid the moving spike ball and find the small platforms to the right. The green ones disappear after a few seconds, so be quick. The yellow platforms are weighted, so they'll drop a little and then come back up once you're off of them. Here comes the second hornhead. Ram him to the left once, wait a moment, run to the right to avoid his attack, and then immediately counter with a second ram to the left. Do that one more time to kill him. There's a rhythm to it, and once you get it down, he's easy to defeat. Otherwise, he'll be a total pain in the ass. These springs will need some getting used to for later on. These particular ones stay still, and so you have to jump towards them. Just go for it here. Trust yourself. Don't fool around. Now the third of these guys. Same thing as before, dodge then counter. Run to the left here to get to the spring, and the bouncing spike will be following you instead of coming towards you because you're going around in a circle, get it? Really brilliant game design, especially for the time. You'll need to hit this fourth enemy 4 times instead of 3. Once you get the rhythm down, you'll see that killing him with the ram attack is more reliable than your weapon. These windbag things that start to show up are less dangerous than the previous enemies, but they're much more annoying. Hitting them with the pole is easy and ideal, but if you lose the pole along the way, it's a test of patience. You have to wait for them to come down before you could ram them, and the timing is difficult. Now the red hornhead. If he bites you, you'll be killed immediately, so don't get close while his mouth is open. You want to apply the same strategy as the yellow one, but just a little quicker in reversing your direction to ram. This is the first checkpoint, by the way, should you die. Take note, the green springs bounce you higher than the yellow ones. Oh, another one. If you lose your rhythm, use the pole as a last resort. It can help you get back on track. Okay, kill the swell cheek from behind, but never get in front of it or else you'll get gassed. Wait for the one above you to move to the right, then immediately jump up and run to the right with it. Quickly jump on the mini platform and then jump up. Stand still and wait for the 2 enemies to drop bubbles next to you and then start running right, but not too quickly. Avoid running into the next bubble around the corner. And the one after that. Just get the hell out of here as fast as you can. This is what I was saying before, when the green swell cheek comes down like this, you have to time your ram attack. It'll move slow or it'll move fast, you just never know. You should be able to indicate which speed before it turns the corner, however. The timing is tough though, as you can see. Obviously try to hit the thing with a pole whenever you get the chance. If not, you have to resort to ramming and it just takes forever. I hate these things so much. Finally, you can get out of here. Believe it or not, this is where it starts to get complicated. The small platforms begin to move along with the tower, and when you land on one, the movement perspective will stay with you as you technically spin in circles, even though it looks like you're standing still. It might be best to use your imagination a little here. It should go without saying, by the way, that the music in this game is absolutely brilliant, as if this level wasn't intense enough. When you get to the part with the moving springs, you'll have to wait until about here before you jump up to the one above you. When it's coming from the right, you'll be bouncing a little, so jump about here while you're about to bounce up. You'll notice that when the spring has a white top, you'll bounce, but not when it's upside down. Again, jump at the same point as before. This is important to remember. When you spring past the spike ball onto the next platform, you have to run left and jump up to grab a pole, but don't press down. You need to hang on to it and dangle as the face blows air towards you. If you don't, you'll die right away. There are 2 green disappearing platforms to the right. Go up and find the next green platforms, but don't jump right away. Wait until the first one disappears, then reappears before jumping in succession as quickly as you can. You'll only have a split second to land on the top one. You've made it past the second checkpoint, by the way, if you've come this far. The same strategy applies to the red hornhead from before. Wait for the poles and jump about here. Remember, don't touch anything on the D-pad, just stay there and dangle. When the face leaves, another small platform will swing around underneath you, so hit down right here. This yellow hornhead takes 4 hits with the ram attack. Remember the pattern and try to get into the rhythm. Jump here for the mini platform coming from the left, but watch out when you advance up because, well, this can happen. It sucks, but they don't put you back terribly far from this point. Look how crazy this is. I still couldn't avoid getting hit, and because I was out of the screen, I lost my weapon. Just kill the green swell cheek with your fist and ram attack, and there will be another pole above you. You should know the drill by now. Stay still until the face leaves and a spring appears below you. I've done all of this a ton of times, and so jumping off the springs is very easy for me at this point. There's another face coming, so do the exact same thing. This time you'll have to fall down to the original spring that brought you up, and since you're higher up, it's a little intimidating. Press down right about here. Another spring will appear from the right, so quickly jump from that to the platform. This is the final section. A cloud-blowing wind, not gas, will follow you as you make your way up and try to knock you off the springs and platforms, and so you have to move as quickly as possible to stay ahead of it before it can catch you. Now if you die, you're sent all the way back here again, which is very frustrating. The higher you climb, the harder you fall, I guess. It just adds to the intensity of the final section with the cloud. There's so much pressure not to make a single mistake because, well, you'll pay for it. From the first spring, jump 8 times to the left to make it to the first of 2 big platforms without ever stopping your movement. Quickly run to the right, jump left, right, and then straight up. Here she is, the Dark Queen. We've made it. This is the last thing that you have to do to beat this game. And fortunately, she's not that difficult of an enemy. She's a lot harder in Battletoads Double Dragon, which came later. Another thing is, if you die and have to continue, you're restarted at the beginning of this fight. You don't have to make your way back up again. The best way to combat the Dark Queen is with the ram attack, of course. You'll get an early opportunity to do that twice before she starts spinning into a tornado. The timing has to be precise. You see, here you could technically hit the Dark Queen while she's spinning, it's just that I go into the ram attack too soon. She'll slowly hover above you, threatening to touch ground if you stay underneath her for too long. Eventually, when she does, you have to act quick to ram into her, otherwise she'll knee in the face. Oftentimes, she'll hover close enough to your head so that you can ram her near her feet. You want to avoid the knee area though. Since I have a lot of extra lives, I'm being a little more aggressive than normal here. To play it safe, you basically want to wait until she lands before you do any damage, although you could hit her at any point as long as she's not in full visual tornado mode. And it seems as though getting damage on her is a lot easier when she's facing away and her knee isn't pointed towards you, but you don't have much control over how she lands. At some point, much like the buzzball in the previous level, she'll exit the screen above you so that you can't see where she is. Your video game instincts should tell you just to move around, left and right. Don't be stagnant. She'll fall down, and when she does, try to get a quick hit on her. Easier said than done. I know I said that the ram attack is the best approach here, but you can technically punch her if you're close enough. It's very risky though, so I don't recommend it. In total, it took me 21 hits to make it through. Also, one last thing, stay away from the middle of the screen, especially if you're on your final life, because she'll make her way back up at the end, and she could actually inflict one last bit of damage on you. What do you know? That's it. We beat it. I don't know what else to say about this game because I've pretty much said everything that I can say about it. Now, it is beatable. Like I said, if I can do it, you can too, and so I just really hope that I helped you along the way. And remember, if you're having trouble with anything, any kind of difficulty with any level, just keep practicing.